What's cracking YouTube, Neck Punch here. Now in my defense of the Sonic type video, I looked at Pokemon which could be retconned to be Sonic type should that type exist. Vibrava and Flygon were conspicuously left off that list, and today we're going to talk about why, and what I've done with them in my region. Now the case for why they should be considered as Sonic types is an easy one to make. We just need to look at the dex entries. Vibrava already generates ultrasonic waves that can cause headaches by vibrating its wings, and Flygon creates vibrations with its wings that sound like singing, in addition to creating sandstorms with sonic vibrations. But then the question is, do they become Ground Sonic or Sonic Dragon? To me, the line have more reason to be ground type than dragon type, being desert dwellers and sand users, plus Trapinch with all its sand pit shenanigans has no business dropping its ground typing. But it also feels really weird to take away Flygon's dragon typing. So then I thought, what if the line goes Ground Sonic, Dragon Sonic? But there was one more problem. Vibrava and Flygon have maybe the most controversy around their typings. Should they be dragon? Should they be bug? Should they be flying? You've heard these arguments a million times. And I love that there's so much disagreement because it affirms this idea that Pokemon can have features of more than two types, and their appearance doesn't have to fit into any particular box. I felt like retyping these icons of I don't look like what you think I have to look like would undermine a little of what they stood for. So, the solution? Regional variant. I can let the original Vibrava and Flygon remain untouched, but also explore what a Sonic type version of them might look like, and allow both to exist. This is how we ended up with Kotean Vibrava. Kotean Vibrava is a ground and sonic type. It's developed these loose scales which it can vibrate at frequencies matching that of predators or prey, thus creating sound wave shields to protect itself from sandstorms and other hazards, as well as being able to use those vibrations to lure and stun prey. The wings are obviously a different shape to Hawaiian Vibrava as well. I'll explain that when we get to Flygon. But what causes Trapinch to evolve into a Kotean Vibrava instead of a regular Hawaiian one? For the answer, we need to take a visit to the desert of Hantei in northeastern Kotean. Not the desert of Hentai, that's an entirely different place. Hantei is Google Translate Japanese, the only Japanese I know, for judgment, as crossing this desert is an extreme test and the bones littered throughout are testament to how many have been found wanting. And if you've watched any of my early videos involving other Kotean desert Pokemon, you'll know that there are some other theories as to why this desert might be named after Judgment. As we walk through the desert of Hantei, you'll notice that bones are not the only thing to be found here. This desert is full of craters and meteorites, and if we allow ourselves to fall into a Trapinch trap, we might be able to unearth the specific meteorite responsible for these unusual Vibrava. So this is the real world idea that I wanted to play around with. There is a theory that meteorites produce sound waves. For centuries, people have claimed that meteors make a hissing sound as they go through the sky. And that doesn't make any sense because the sound would reach our ears way after we see the meteor. So, what are people actually hearing when they see a meteor and hear a noise at the same time? And there's a few ideas out there, but the prevailing theory, as I understand it, is that a meteor's movement ionizes the air around it, creating a current and launching low-frequency sound waves which vibrate objects on Earth. Essentially, a person looks at a meteor and hears a noise, and the noise is actually the vibration of their fence or something caused by the energy released by the meteor's movement. So, what about if the meteorites in the desert of Hantei emitted sound waves that affected the evolution of Trapinch? But meteors in the ground aren't moving, so they wouldn't emit sound waves, right? Right. Unless those meteorites aren't just meteorites. Audiorite is a little rock sonic type from space. They live underground in the desert of Hantei and emit sound waves. No one is entirely sure why they do this, but the prevailing theory is that Audiorite are trying to contact more of their own kind up in space. So, reversing the meteors in the sky make noise idea and adding a little bit of E.T. to turn this concept into a Pokemon, which is also a fun nod to those E.T. video games that were buried in the desert for being that impossible to sell. The sound waves that Audiorite constantly emit cause problems for Trapinch. Audiorite's vibration vibrations result in Trapinch's sand traps constantly collapsing, making it difficult for Trapinch to catch prey. In Kotean, Trapinch have been forced to get better at reading the vibrations in the sand so they know where best to build their traps. And this means that when they evolve and grow wings with which they can create their own vibrations, they are much better at it than Vibrava from other regions. So good, in fact, that they are now ground sonic types. Though their wings aren't as effective at keeping them airborne, so they lose levitate. Instead, Vibrava and Flygon's ability is Harmonize, which raises special attack when hit by a sonic type move. When Vibrava evolve into Flygon, they tap into the arcane dragon type energy which has been lying dormant within them, whilst also becoming experts at manipulating sound waves to control the desert floor, air, and storms, and therefore they exchange their ground typing for the dragon type. Since it's no longer levitating but walking and controlling the sands, I had to change the pose. Sonic type turned out to be a lot trickier than I expected to graft onto an existing Pokemon visually, without just putting a bunch of speakers on it, which I knew I didn't want to do. I ended up giving it the loose scales, which can vibrate Komodo style in addition to its wings, and the wings were always going to be the biggest change, since that's primarily where these Pokemon's sonic power comes from. The reason that they're shaped like a number 8 is to reference the way hummingbirds, which can also create sound from the impressive beating of their wings, move their wings in a figure 8 motion. Rather than trying to draw them moving in a figure 8, I thought it'd be fun to just make them figure 8 shaped. And that also led to the changing of the shape of the head crest to represent a semiquaver, an 1/8 of a note. Neck punch. A semiquaver is a 16th of a note. Really? Okay. Whoops. Forgive me. Maybe when I draw the in-game sprite, I'll drop one of those little tails. But for now, let's just pretend we didn't see it. Here is Kotean Flygon. The remaining question mark I have for Flygon is its color scheme. I could not decide what color it should be, because what color is sound? I played with lots of different color schemes for Flygon and Vibrava, and I want you to let me know which one is your favorite. I'll put up a little image poll on the community tab as well, and whichever one gets the most votes, we'll make that the main color scheme, and if I end up deciding that I do have a favorite, then I'll make my favorite the shiny. But there you have it. What did you think of Kotean Vibrava and Flygon? What about Audioryte? Let me know in the comments what regional forms you want to see next, what color scheme you prefer for Vibrava and Flygon. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Until next time, my name is Neck Punch. Have a good one.